and Elections is now called to order. This 22nd day of February, 2:00 p.m. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are now at public comments. Do we have anyone for public comments? If so, please come to the mic and give your name and your address, please. Okay, seeing there is none. Now we will go to the next item on the agenda, the minutes from the previous meeting, January 25th, 2023. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes if you have already read them?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the minutes be received. Correction? Page two.
On page 2
Is that 2 or 4?
of the minutes, yes, 2 of 4.
Okay,
Item number 4 at the bottom under new business.
okay,
There's a question mark as what was discussed during the 2022 election debriefing,
okay.
and that was not recorded in the minutes. So I would offer a correction to the minute if it's okay.
So move.
Mr. Pelly made a suggestion that the board would determine what is an acceptable length of time for a voter to vote, so that we can have some kind of goal to, I guess, mark our performance as whether or not we are processing voters in a timely fashion. That came from Mr. Pelly, and from you, you talked about poll managers and clerk having a good understanding of the process, which would also help with determining if we are processing voters efficiently, making sure that they have hands-on training and a good understanding of the checking-in process.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Madam Director. You've heard the added changes to item 4 on page 2-4. Are we all in favor? Let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so move. It's been properly moved that the number 4 be amended to include it in the minutes. Thank you. Unfinished business. I don't know if we had any unfinished business. Okay. Next will be our committee reports. Facilities Committee. We do not have a chair for that committee at this time. Ms. Marie, would you be able to give us some information on facilities, please?
yes, the addition to the John Galt facility, it's my understanding that it's actively underway. I don't see any activity yet on the ground, but the activity is going on paper in the planning stage and the permitting stage. So that's a good thing.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Marie? Okay. Okay, our next item is Finance Committee. I don't have a report,
Wendell?
but Wendell, do you?
Yes, we are, the budget is due, or budget entry is in, the deadline for budget entry is February 28th. We have hours, based on what they told us how we needed to actually put it in, whatever. And, yeah, I'm sorry, I should have gotten a copy of it today, we didn't, I think we're still kind of winding down from last week. But we'll make sure everybody gets a copy.
Okay, thank you.
Our submission was, we were told, this year to do it a little bit differently. In the past, we never had any say in, staff salaries and whatever, but, Director of Finance told me to put in 3% COLA. So that's what would be reflected in, which is something you didn't really see in the past.
That's just proposed.
Yeah, and it's all proposed, it's all proposed.
Okay,
So I actually, when we get back to the office, I'll send everybody a copy.
all right, thank you. Legislative Affairs Committee.
We haven't met yet. I wanted to wait until after y'all came back from the SCARE conference, so if you're available next Thursday at 4 o'clock, then I would like to meet.
You said next Thursday at,
4:30. If you would check your schedules, please. 4:30.
okay.
I cannot, I have a meeting with one of my board members.
Ms. Beverly, what about you?
I'm checking
Okay, well, check your calendars and let me know before you.
Thursday, yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
All right. Okay, next is Representing Committee. Beverly Dorr?
As reported at the last board meeting, the re-precincting committee have met on numerous occasions to discuss strategic plans and goals for re-precinct alignment. And at this juncture, I ask that you check your packets and make sure that you got a copy of the proposed re-precinct alignments, as well as a copy of the voter registration totals by county precinct, etc. At this juncture, the goal of the board today is to recommend that the work of the re-precincting committee, which is identifying the precincts with over 1,600 voters, be divided to create multiple precincts. We ask that that be approved. And upon approval of the board, the report will be submitted to the South Carolina Legislative Council /Review and Fiscal Affairs Office for further review. The South Carolina Legislative Council will report their recommendations to the Beaufort Legislative Delegation to introduce a bill as new legislation for additional precincts to be added in Beaufort County. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, are there any questions or comments for?
I have a comment. I think this is a great jump-off point. You know, we received this at 16:41 yesterday afternoon. I have not had a chance to review it.
Okay.
This is the first that we're seeing it. I think if we took 72 hours and reconvene, even if it's via Zoom or by email, to discuss, because we need to get it right and not right now. I mean, I know it's due and I know it's important, but we really need to get this right. We need to, you know.
Okay,
I think the initial suggestion was to let's try to complete this by this coming Friday, if we can do it by this Friday. But these are just proposals, this is nothing in stone. This just authorizes the state GIS office to start the process of seeing how we can conceivably divide the precincts.
I got a question. I'm trying to remember, some of y'all have been doing this longer than I have, you can help me on this. But is this, all I remember is people calling me on the phone during the last election. There was an article in the paper, and I forget, I think it was in Bluffton, where people showed up to vote in, a candidate showed up to vote, and he was in the wrong precinct. Is that, was that because of re-precincting? What was that
I
called?
don't think so. This process is to take those precincts that have, let's say, 2,800 voters, and to kind of narrow it down by maybe dividing that into 2 precincts. And a lot of them are proposed at the same location. So the persons wouldn't move necessarily, but they would have separate check-in stations and have a,
Okay.
And a preponderance of mine are in that category, because Bluffton is one of the largest growing segments of our county. And for
the
example, our polling station of Buckwalter Rec, I already have 4 there. And I think all 4 of them need to be split, so, you know, that may require breaking off and creating brand-new polling stations, because I don't think I can fit 2 more or 4 more precincts in that location, if I were to split them in half.
we're prepared to identify additional locations.
Okay.
This just enables us to send it to an agency in Columbia and for them to help us create some lines so that communities are not separated. This is just an enabling process that allows us to go forward and to divide the precincts into manageable voting
But
communities.
what you're saying is the question I had about what happened 2 years ago has nothing to do with this?
No.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Okay,
I mean, we can push it forward, I just wanna make sure that it's correct.
Right, that's all we are asking, is just that this go forward. We will be looking for new polling places all the time as the need arises. You know, we're not gonna wait until the next census in 10 years from now, but that's a continual need to look for more space and to get our voters in a posture whereby they won't have to wait for 2 hours. That's what we're really trying to do.
okay,
Ms. Eileen?
yes.
I think what we need to be mindful of is the fact that by the election laws, we really shouldn't have any precinct over 1,500 with over 1,500 voters. Unfortunately, due to our situation with facilities limitation, and it's not just a Beaufort County issue, it's an issue across the state. We just don't have the facilities to house the voters. That's why we're keeping them combined in the same location, which in turns create longer lines because more people are being processed at one location. So the goal is to try and reduce some of those precincts, find new polling locations, and I think we've been talking about this for several years now, is especially in the Bluffton area, but not just in the Bluffton area, that we need to identify facilities to house our polling locations, because if we do not do that, what we're gonna find are voters waiting in line on election day because only so many people can get into a building at one time to cast a ballot. And so this, like I said, it's not just a Beaufort County issue, it's an issue across the state. And we have administration, county administration staff that are looking for facilities. We are looking for facilities, and we are also asking you all, if you know people who live in the Bluffton area, who are members of different clubs and organizations, and they have a facility that we may be able to use, please let us know. We will do the contact, we will do the surveys to make sure that they are accessible and compatible to be a location. We will do all the footwork. We just need to identify those facilities or people who may own a facility that we could use. So it's not just as easy as saying we're gonna split the precincts or divide the precincts. We also need polling locations. So that's all of our mission. We've been talking about this for years, to try and find locations. And we have identified some facilities. We will be contacting those facilities, but we still need more facilities. We need some on Hilton Head as well, and we need some in the Beaufort area, but more so in the Bluffton area.
I think that you're very correct, but this is a continuous process. These proposals I mean, we may identify, some new polling places that are perhaps better than the ones that are being proposed. And do you agree that we would just continue to work on this?
Yes,
This is not a
yes.
finalized, you must locate in this particular proposed location. But it's just a step to get the work done, to
Okay.
divide the precincts into manageable clusters.
All right, thank you for that discussion.
Yeah, at first glance, I have six of my precincts, need to be split out of my 12.
Okay.
That's-
All right. Next, we have Rules Committee.
No report.
Moving on along to new business. Director's report.
Whenever I say I have a short report, it ends up being very long. But this is really, really, truly a short report. Since we met last, there are a couple new legislation that's been introduced, and I have them outlined for you. We have S-92, which is talking about candidate protest deadline. If there is a protest filed during an election, if the deadline is on or falls on a holiday, that it be moved to the next day that's not a legal holiday. So that's being proposed. All of these legislation right now are in committees, so it has not gone through both chambers yet. So while it's in committee, it'll probably come back for discussion to the floor later on. And I think all of them are in the same situation. S-335 is a local legislation in reference to the Hilton Head #1 Public Service District. We conduct the election for that entity, and it's being proposed that they go through sort of like a redistricting process. They want to increase it to 7 election districts. And S-336 is relating to increasing the time a voter have in the voting booth from 3 minutes to a maximum of 5 minutes. And you know, during the last election, we had a lot of issues with voters staying in the booth, sometimes 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes at a time because of the long referendums. And it just doesn't seem right when you tell a voter you gotta move on and them not having an opportunity to finish voting. Will this help? Probably not a whole lot if you continue to have referendum questions on the ballot and voters are insisting on reading those questions pretty much verbatim. But right now, under the law, the way it's written, a voter should only spend 3 minutes in the voting booth to vote. So increasing that to 5 would help a little. S-406, these are Senate bills. It's relating to the tabulation of absentee ballots so as to provide the ballot cast during early voting may begin to be tabulated at the same time as we tabulate the absentee ballots. I know you all have been getting your ears chewed off about the time it takes to report election results. And a lot of that has to do with when we open absentee ballots and when we open or when we are able to tabulate the early voting ballots. early voting ballots, we cannot start the tabulation of it until 7 o'clock on election day. And that does take a good little while because we have 4 early voting sites. And we will have to close those polls at those early voting sites starting at 7 o'clock. Well, if you noticed in the last election, when we started that process, it took us probably a little over an hour to close, I think it was over an hour to close all 4 of those polls. And so the early voting results did not get reported as quickly as we wanted to because we couldn't shut them down until 7 o'clock. So this would help if we could tabulate, not report, but tabulate the early voting ballots before 7 o'clock. And this law will give us that opportunity to do that. It has already received some favorable support from some of the senators, and hopefully it will go through. Again, this is just for reporting purposes. So that's, those are the newest, in addition to some of the ones that you had received on the in last month's meeting. Any questions about those?
I got a question. You said you can't shut the early voting down to 7 o'clock, but I thought early voting ended a couple of days before the regular election.
Yes, sir, but we cannot tabulate the votes. So we cannot, print the results tape until
Oh,
7 o'clock. Even though it's closed, it's not tabulated.
I misunderstood what you said. I thought, yeah, okay, I got you, I understand now.
Any other questions? Okay, so let's move on to elections update. There's one correction under the community forum. The forum that's going to be conducted that was scheduled for July 12th has moved to July 5th at the Bluffton Library from 6 to 8. Okay. We have moved in to our new facility at Myrtle Park Government Center. Matter of fact, I think the phone lines were activated today. And all the computers are up and running. So we will be opening up on next Wednesday, March the 1st. And our operating hours will be from 9 to 1 and a lunch break from 1 to 2. And we'll open back at 2 from 2 to 4. And that will be on Wednesdays only. Now, during the election period, when we get closer to an election, we'll open 5 days a week, and we will publicize those hours. Okay. The SCARE Annual Conference, excuse me, if I say so myself, maybe I shouldn't say, maybe I should have some of you guys who attended to say how it was. I thought it was a success. We had some great speakers. We had board members that attended. We had staff that attended. We had legislators, none from Beaufort, but we had legislators there. And I think they offered a lot of insight as to how the process goes. When we make these requests concerning what we feel as election official to be a good bill to introduce so that our voters would, either it would make processes or business better for the voters or for administration, they kind of shared, were you all at the session on Friday?
Yes.
They kind of shared how things work,
Yeah.
which I think was good. It gave us a better understanding of how politics plays into so much of what we do. So I thought those gentlemen that were there did a great job on answering our questions and offering insight to the whole process. So for those folks who did not get an opportunity to come, I brought you a goodie bag. And I hope I brought enough. Okay. And of course, we had some folks who are officially certified. We have Mr. Wedgeworth, and we have two staff people, Craig Tedesco and Michael Gibbs, that are officially certified election officials for the state of South Carolina.
Congratulations.
Y'all don't get all the goodies, but y'all at least got that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and this is yours.
Thank you. Coal, huh? Okay.
So Maria, I thought the speakers were amazing.
Thank you. Thank
I thought the speakers were amazing.
Right.
And so the I've never been to a session where the legislators were so open and so clear in their, their explanations, that they weren't politically motivated, they were just explaining how it's done, and I thought it was wonderful. So, we may not have the post office come back though, huh? But I thought they were excellent speakers.
Thank you.
They were.
You know, the speakers were, I've heard all those folks speak before, so that's why I kind of like encouraged them to come to South Carolina. I heard them up in Washington a couple of weeks ago before our conference, and I think that's just what we needed. I had invited them before I had a chance to meet them, but I'm glad that they came and they were all open to the ideas that we had. So I think overall it was a benefit to
Very
the
good.
entire state.
Anybody else? Before I say anything? I would just like to say that I truly enjoyed the whole session, and especially the banquet and all of the glitter and glamour. Met some really nice people there that I never met before, and that's the good thing about going to these conferences, because it's a learning process. You learn and you grow while you're there, and I would like to see more of us attend in 2025, I believe, if I'm correct.
No, we have one next year.
Oh, really? That's the little small one though, right?
No, it's
Oh,
just that I
it's not?
won't be in charge. No,
Oh,
but we usually try to have a conference every year.
oh, okay.
I will not be in charge of selecting
Okay.
the speaker or the venue or anything
Yeah.
else. But typically, we want to do it in March,
Mm-hmm.
but, because we have the presidential preference primary, so it won't be in February. So that's still being worked out, so you'll get more information
Okay,
as soon as it's available.
great.
And is there a mid-year?
I don't know if they're gonna do a mid-year again.
I would just like to commend the planning committee. I thought that a lot of intricate thought and detail went into planning every aspect of the conference. And I just thought the speakers were very learned and very explicit. They had really good PowerPoint presentations. And I was amazed that our executive director here is on a national committee. You want to mention that, Marie?
Oh, I mentioned that before.
I wasn't there.
Oh, yeah, well, I served as an advisor to the local leadership council for the election administration, for EAC.
I thought that it was
Advisor to what?
noteworthy to mention that.
To EAC, the Election Administration Commission, Assistance Commission, Election Assistance Commission.
Okay, and while we are still on our director's report, I would like for the board to stand and give Marie a round of applause for serving in that capacity and doing an outstanding job.
Y'all don't have to do that, but thank you, I appreciate the the gesture. It was really a pleasure. I love working with the folks across the state. And election officials are unique people. We genuinely care about our voters, and we are passionate about what we do. And I think that was reflected in the conference. And so I appreciate the acknowledgement. So, got one more item on the agenda, which is our polling place accessibility survey will begin the week of March the 6th, and that's when we go around to all of our facilities and make sure that it's complying with ADA and any other issues that we may find, so that when 2024 rolls around, our facilities will be ready and accessible to all. So, and one more comment is not to forget to do, if you have not already done, your ethics forms. You smiling, I hope you all did it. Okay?
Okay. And we are now to closing comments. Not everybody speak at one time. I'll go last. No
I would ask that you review the information that you received from the re-precincting committee so that we can move this effort forward. It's gonna be very important as we enter a new election cycle that we finalize this, and please just give it a little attention. You do have this information that would allow you to navigate the proposed alignments. So please call me at any time if you have any questions, or my committee members, Aline, Jim Rowe, Wedgeworth, and we've adopted Craig as an additional committee member.
Anybody else? Okay. My closing comment is that we have committees that need to have chairpersons, et cetera. And because we still have seats that are vacated and we are still waiting for reappointment, this is just me saying, I don't like to have folks to go into be a chair of a committee that maybe they're just filling temporary. So we are going to, and I would like, if you don't like that suggestion, but I would like for us to hold off and wait until we get the 2 vacated seats appointed and the 3 reappointments in place. And at that time, we will then be thinking, and everybody can think when it's open, of who would like to chair the various committees. And those committees are listed here in your report. And we also need to really make sure that when we are sitting in that position as chair, that we do our best to get our assignments completed as soon as possible, even if you have to delegate some assignments out to your other committee persons, because that's why they're on the committee. Not just to be on it, but to also help the chair get the job done, so we wouldn't have to take on the full burden by ourselves. And I hope that the appointment will be coming soon as possible. Right now, the most burning issue for us right now is re-presenting. We really need to get that up and running so we can have our results in. The other committees, they can be on hold for a couple more months if need be. Everybody agree to that? Okay, wow, thank you so very much. Okay, our next board meeting is scheduled for March 22nd, 2023. That is the end of our board meeting, and the time is 2:35. 2:35. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Meeting has been adjourned.
Should Should we leave these up here?
I'm gonna give mine to Chris. Chris, did you see the, I texted you something, the screenshot from Google. Did I
Did
send
you ever hear?